Definitely went through the various phases of having a headache and probably had nausea and may have had some seizure activity prior to becoming unconscious.
He eventually described it to us as being almost like he was putting on a show, almost like he was going out of his way to do that.
But then Ross did something really, really weird. He usually would turn left.
Material. While his murder conviction was overturned, his convictions for sending lewd messages to an underage girl still stands.
The tragic incident. On that scorching summer day in Vinings, Georgia, tragedy struck in the most devastating of ways. Cooper Harris, a 22-month-old toddler full of life and innocence, fell victim to a merciless heat wave that turned his father's car into a lethal trap. It was June 18, 2014, when the sweltering temperatures inside the vehicle soared to unbearable heights, claiming the young boy's life to hypothermia. But the heartbreaking aspect of this tale lies not only in the searing heat, but in the series of events leading up to it. Justin Ross Harris, Cooper's own father, unwittingly became entangled in a sequence of actions that would forever haunt him. With the morning sun barely rising, Harris embarked on his routine, intending to drop his beloved son off at daycare before heading to work. Yet, amidst the hustle and bustle, fate took a cruel turn. Instead of delivering Cooper to safety, Harris left him strapped in his car seat, where he remained for an unthinkable 7 agonizing hours. The repercussions of Harris's actions were swift and unforgiving. Arrested and charged with malice slaying, felony slaying, and cruelty to children, he found himself thrust into a legal maelstrom unlike any other. As the nation watched in disbelief, the media spotlight turned its glare upon the heart-wrenching disaster. Was this a tragic accident, as some argued, or a case of unforgivable negligence and parental recklessness? The public grappled with conflicting emotions, torn between sympathy for a grieving father and outrage at the perceived injustice inflicted upon an innocent child. Was Harris a victim of circumstance, or did he bear the ultimate responsibility for his son's untimely demise? As the courtroom drama unfolded, the world held its breath, waiting for justice to be served in a case that would forever be etched into the pages of tragic history: the criminal's background.
Loud emotional bursts and repeated screaming, they never saw him produce any tears.
He was being held. The public thought he just made a terrible mistake, but investigators were starting to think that he may have actually set this up and killed his child. 15 days later, Ross and Leanna went to court. Prosecutors immediately started talking about how this was not a typical case of a person leaving their child in a car on accident.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's what I did. I couldn't get up there and say that he was a bad father because it wasn't true.
Was there ever any evidence presented at trial that made you question whether or not Ross was guilty of murder?
Not guilty of intentionally murdering, not planning the murder. No.
Justin Ross Harris's journey began at the University of Alabama, where he pursued his education with determination, earning a degree in commerce and business administration. Following his academic pursuits, he ventured into the realm of technology, landing a position as a web developer at the Home Depot. Amidst his professional endeavors, Harris found love and companionship in Leanna Taylor, whom he married in 2006. Their union brought forth the joyous arrival of their baby boy, Cooper Harris, a cherished addition to their lives. Before the tragic incident that would forever alter his fate, Justin Ross Harris was perceived as a dedicated employee and a loving husband and father. Colleagues spoke of his diligence and competence in his role as a web developer, while friends and family attested to his devotion to his wife and son. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic life, questions lingered about Harris's character and behavior. Did he possess the foresight and responsibility expected of a parent? Or were there hidden complexities and vulnerabilities that would later come to light, casting a shadow over his once promising future? The incident and investigation. The day of Cooper Harris's tragic demise unfolded with a series of seemingly routine events, tragically culminating in devastating consequences. In the early hours of June 18th, 2014, Justin Ross Harris embarked on his daily routine, intending to drop his son off at daycare before heading to work.
One chat from the day Cooper died.
I love my son and all, but we both need escapes. 10 minutes before he locks the child in that car to die. Not only was he sexting, not only was he meeting up with other women in parking lots, he was actually seeking out and meeting up with prostitutes and paying for sex as recently as within a few weeks of Cooper's death.
The only difference in this case, compared to the hundreds of other times it's happened and the others that I've actually studied, is just what he was doing at work, which made it easy to condemn him as a person.
Because she thinks he should be punished, but doesn't think he's guilty of murder. What does she think he's guilty of?
A lot of parents, and this happened 39 times just last year, do face charges and are convicted on lesser charges, vehicular manslaughter or some sort of lesser charge. Negligence, but malice murder.
A large number of parents, and it's remarkable that 25% of the parents who had children under 3 reported that they had actually forgotten that their children were in the car at some time during the drive.
It's just horrible. They actually think that the parents create some type of artificial memory of dropping them off at daycare. So obviously Ross was brought directly to the station for questioning. And in there, his behavior was just as sketchy. When he was first placed into the interrogation room, he started sobbing, like heavy sobs that don't sound genuine to me. And I could be wrong. I know I don't have any way to prove he wasn't actually crying, but I don't know about you guys. Tell me your thoughts on this. To me, it looked like a lot of faking and a lot of over-exaggerating, knowing that he was probably being filmed.
Oh, God! Like me. And now he's an advocate for when you park, you turn around and look at you. And I've been doing that because the worst fear for me is to leave my son in a hospital.
However, amidst the chaos of the morning rush, Harris inadvertently deviated from his usual path. Instead of escorting Cooper to safety, he left him strapped in his car seat, where the scorching Georgia sun would soon turn the vehicle into a lethal oven. As the hours passed, the temperatures inside the car soared to unbearable levels, unbeknownst to Harris, who remained consumed by the demands of his workday.
What about Ross watching that video, that vet video of an animal in a hot car in the days prior to Cooper's death? What do you make of that?
We have a dog. Many other people viewed that same video.
But many people didn't then leave their son in a hot car. Does he deserve to be punished?
Or 11 alive. And Caitlin, I know you spoke to a doctor who was actually supposed to testify about that regarding parents who accidentally leave their kids in cars, that he believed this was not intentional.
Exactly, and he never did get the chance to testify. He told me today he was disappointed about that. This is the first time we're hearing from him.
It wasn't until approximately 7 agonizing hours later that he returned to his vehicle, only to discover the harrowing reality of his grave mistake. The ensuing police response and investigation cast a spotlight on the tragic circumstances surrounding Cooper's demise. Law enforcement officers meticulously pieced together the events of that fateful day, scrutinizing every detail of Harris's actions leading up to the incident. As they delved deeper, they were confronted with startling revelations about Harris's personal life, including the discovery of his extramarital affairs. These unsettling discoveries added layers of complexity to an already heartbreaking case, raising questions about Harris's character and potential motives. How could a seemingly devoted father neglect to ensure his son's safety? Was this a tragic accident or a deliberate act of negligence? Criminal trial. The criminal trial of Justin Ross Harris gripped the nation as it unfolded, with intense scrutiny placed on every detail of the proceedings. Charged with malice slaying, felony slaying, and cruelty to children, Harris faced a courtroom battle that would ultimately determine his fate. Throughout the trial, both the prosecution and defense meticulously presented their cases, aiming to sway the jury with compelling evidence and persuasive arguments. Prosecutors painted Harris as a negligent father whose actions directly led to his son's tragic demise, emphasizing his reckless disregard for Cooper's safety. In contrast, the defense portrayed Harris as a loving father who had simply made a devastating mistake, arguing that his actions were not indicative of criminal intent. witness testimonies played a pivotal role in shaping the narrative of the trial. Law enforcement officers recounted the details of their investigation, shedding light on Harris's behavior and interactions in the aftermath of Cooper's demise.
It's been one of my biggest fears. It always has.
Talk about what accidentally leaving him in the car.
It's always been a big fear.
Intentionally left Cooper in the hot SUV to die a slow death.
I had to tell the truth. And I can't sit up there and say that he was a bad father. I can't sit up there and say that he was annoyed by having a child, because that's not what I saw.
Expert witnesses provided valuable insights into matters such as child psychology and memory lapses, offering potential explanations for Harris's actions. Character witnesses were called upon to testify to Harris's demeanor and behavior before the incident, providing varying perspectives on his personality and parental responsibilities. Their testimonies served to humanize Harris and provide context for the jury to consider. After carefully deliberating on the evidence presented, the jury rendered their verdict, finding Harris guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole plus 32 years, marking the culmination of a legal saga that had captivated the nation's attention: convictions, appeals, and dismissals. After Ross got convicted, his lawyers fought hard to get his charges overturned. And guess what? The Georgia Supreme Court agreed and tossed out the slaying and cruelty charges because they said some evidence was unfairly prejudicial. So the prosecutors decided not to give it another shot and retry him on those charges. But here's the kicker. Ross still stayed in jail for other charges, like intimate exploitation of youngsters and sharing harmful, explicit stuff with them. Even though the slaying charges got dropped, he's still paying the price for those other convictions. It just shows how messy and complicated the whole legal system can be.